Radio for Teens. For those of you who don't know, I'm Bia, and Cardiff Radio for Teens is a place where teens can come together with other teens to learn about Spiritist teachings and topics in a way that is more relatable and makes more sense to us as teenagers in today's society. For over a year now, we've been reading through the Spirit's book, step by step, question by question, word by word, and trying to really understand it to the best of our abilities right now, so that we have the basis to learn even further about Spiritist topics. Last week, we were still on Chapter 9 of Part 2, which is titled The Intervention of Spirits in the Corporeal World. So we were talking about the spirits that are disincarnated and how they interact and communicate with us in the corporeal world incarnated right now. And last week, we left off in the middle of talking about guardian angels, who are our protector spirits, and we left off pretty much in the middle of that section. So if you did miss last week's show, I suggest you go back and listen to it so it makes more sense once we continue on. So let's get right to it. Question 496. Can spirits who abandon their wards and no longer do them good, do them evil instead? So last week we talked about how some guardian spirits, maybe sometimes they have other things that they need to do, something else that they're assigned to, something else that they have to do. So they might have to leave, but of course you're going to have a replacement guardian angel. They're not just going to leave you by yourself. But so they're saying, so these spirits who abandon people, so since they're not like helping you anymore, they're not doing good for you anymore, this is the question, it's saying, can they do evil towards you instead? And the spirits answered, good spirits never do evil. They leave that to those who take their place, and then you blame fate for misfortune and overwhelm you, whereas you and yourself are actually to blame. So we were talking about how sometimes the guardian angel wants to help you, but you're so stubborn and you're so set in your ways that no matter what they're doing, it's not helping, so they kind of back off a little, because you're not going to listen to anything they say, so why are they going to continually say it over and over? You need to be willing to accept that advice. So they're saying, so the good spirits, they're never going to do evil, but if they are going to, and then it says here, they leave that to those who take their place. So they're not going to do evil, but it's not up to them, whoever takes up their place, what they're going to do. But then if they have to leave because you're not listening to them and stuff like that, then you're actually the one to blame. And also because if you're getting bad advice and if you're getting bad advice from an evil spirit, you should be working towards pushing those thoughts away, realizing that it's a negative thought and pushing it away. But if you're accepting those thoughts and accepting those ideas, then you yourself are to blame too. Question 497. Can protector spirits leave their wards at the mercy of spirits who might harm them? So here the question's asking, can your protector spirit, can your guardian angel, can they leave you with spirits that might harm you, that spirits who might manipulate you? And the spirits answered, there is unity among evil spirits for neutralizing the actions of the good ones. But if wards would so desire, they could restore the link to their good spirit. The good spirit may find a more willing person somewhere else to help in the meantime while awaiting its ward to return. So let's say you are listening to the evil spirits instead of the good spirits. So basically, anything the good spirit says is kind of going in one ear, out the other. So, but finally, when the incarnated spirit, like they're saying the ward here, if they desire, once they realize, oh, I want a good spirit to tell me advice, they'll be reconnected if they want it. But while they're pushing the good spirit away, there's not much that they can do. Question 498. When protector spirits allow their wards to be led astray in life, is it because they are powerless to confront the malevolent spirits? So they're saying, so protector spirits, they let you go, like, they're not, like, there's a straight line path, and they're letting you deviate a little bit. They're letting you walk around and go in different paths, even though there's only one path that you should be following. So are they letting you go away from this path because they can't really do anything about the evil spirits? And the spirits answered, "It is not because they are powerless, but because they do not want to. Their wards emerge from their trials more evolved and more learned. Their protector spirits assist them with their counsels through good thoughts they suggest, but which, unfortunately, are not always heeded. It is nothing but human weakness, carelessness, or pride that grants power to evil spirits. Their power over you comes solely from the fact that you do not offer them any resistance." So sometimes they let you go off of this path that you're supposed to stay on because that's how we learn, that's how we get better, that's how we improve. So they'll still be with us and they'll still be giving us good thoughts and ideas, even though we may not listen to them, but they're still there helping us, but they know that we need to go through these trials to get better. If they just put us in a little bubble and we never go through anything, then we'll never improve, we'll never get better. So they do let us deviate so that we can reach problems and make mistakes so that we can fix them and learn from them. But of course, they don't just sit there and say, "Oh, we're gonna let you into this path so that you can learn to come out of it," but it's just human weakness, carelessness, pride that ends us up in these situations. And then the guardian angel, the protector spirit, will help us, but at the same time they know that this is a learning experience for us. Question 499. Are protector spirits with their wards all the time? Aren't there circumstances where they might lose sight of them without abandoning them? So are the protector spirits really there all the time? That's the question. But aren't there sometimes that maybe they're not quite around, even though they didn't abandon their spirit, but are they not around all the time? And the spirit said, "There are circumstances in which the presence of the protector spirit next to his ward is not necessary." So it's not that the protector spirit abandoned the ward, but they didn't really need the help, the direct help to be there constantly all the time. Of course they're still connected, they're still keeping an eye on you, sort of thing. They're keeping an eye on you from afar, but it's not necessary that you need someone there with you every single second. Question 500. Does a time come in which a spirit no longer needs its guardian angel? So eventually, does the spirit not need a guardian angel? And the spirits answered, yes, when it reaches the level at which it can guide itself, just as the time comes which the student no longer needs the master. But this does not happen on the earth. So, yeah, there is a time when eventually, after going through many trials and learning many different things, eventually you're going to reach that level that you can guide yourself, that you might still be going through a few things, but you can guide yourself through them, and you don't need a guardian angel to be protecting you so intensely. However, this isn't the case on Earth, because on Earth, there's no one that's that evolved that they don't need a guardian angel. Right now, we're all on a lower level, so even though we're going to improve in our lifetimes, hopefully, in this lifetime, hopefully we try to work our way in improving. Even though we're going to be improving, we're never going to be at that level on the earth. That's more for other worlds that are more evolved. So on earth, we'll always have a guardian angel. Question 501. Why is the action of spirits in our lives so secretive? When they are protecting us, why don't they do so openly? So why is it such a secret? Why don't they just openly tell us that it's them instead of just implying these hints to us? So why is it so secret? And the spirits answered, if you counted on their support all the time, you would not act by yourself and your spirit would not progress. In order for it to advance, it needs experience and must acquire at its own expense. It must exert its own volition. Otherwise, it would be like an infant who is not allowed to walk by itself. The action of the spirits who wish you well always occur in such a way as to not hamper your free will. For if you did not have any responsibilities, you would not progress on the path that must lead you towards God. Since they do not see who is helping them, humans rely on their own efforts. Their guide watches over them, nevertheless, and from time to time warns them of danger. So, What they're saying here is that if we had someone walk us through every little step of our lives, then we would kind of give up. We wouldn't do anything because we would know someone else would do it for us. If I could sit here and know that, oh, if I don't shower, someone's going to come help me go shower. If I don't cook food, someone's going to help me cook food. If I don't do my homework, someone's going to help me do homework. Then I'm just going to sit here and wait for someone to come help me. I'm not actually going to take any initiative and do it myself. So that's why it's so secretive, and it's not directly them telling you, okay, you need to do this right now, because we need to be let on our own so that we can have our own experiences, good and bad, so that we can learn from them and improve off of them. But if we don't ever have our own experiences, we'll never be able to learn anything more. It's like they said here, it's like a baby that never learns to walk by itself. So there's always someone holding its hands, there's always something to grab onto. So the baby's never going to learn how to walk by on its own because there's always something there. Question 502. Do the protector spirits who succeed in leading their wards along the path of good experience any good for themselves? So now they're saying, so the protector spirit, they did a pretty good job and they did lead their spirit into a good path. So do they experience anything good too, the protector spirit? And the spirits answered, it is a merit that will be taken into account, whether for their advancement or their happiness. They feel happy when they see their efforts crowned with success. It is a triumph for them, as when a mentor exults at the success of his or her disciple. So, not that there's going to be like, oh, you evolved more or something like that, but there is a merit that's going to be taken into account. So maybe depending on what they did, maybe it will help them evolve a little bit, or maybe it'll just make them happier altogether. So it's not like, oh, if you do this, you get 100 on a test and that's it. It's kind of on a base-to-base situation, and that's not really their main goal in this. And then there's a second part to this question. It says, are they responsible if their efforts are unsuccessful? And the spirit said, no, because they have done all they could. So if everything that they tried, if they really tried to get the spirit on board and get them to the path of good, but they're unsuccessful, it's not their fault. They're not really responsible for that because they really did try all they could, but the spirit was not accepting any of that help. Question 503. Don't protector spirits suffer when they see their wards following an immoral path in spite of their warning? And isn't it a cause of distress for them? So this guardian angel, this protector spirit, they're watching you, and then they see you take the wrong path, and they're telling you, they're trying to hint at it. They're saying, okay, no, this might be a bad path, don't go there, not a good path, but you do it anyway. So do they get kind of anxious? Do they get distressed? And the spirits answered, they suffer from their wards' misdeeds, and they pity them. But this action has none of the anguish of earthly parenthood, because they know that there is a remedy for evil, and that what is not done today will be done tomorrow. So they do suffer, they do feel bad when their incarnated spirit is doing something wrong or going the wrong path. But it's not like parenthood that they get very, very disappointed because they know that, okay, you're making a wrong choice today, but tomorrow we're going to have to go back and fix it. And they're very optimistic like that. Question 504. Could we ever know the name of our protector spirit, our guardian angel? And the spirits answered, why would you want to know names that do not exist for you? Do you believe there are only spirits with whom you are familiar? So they're saying, so you don't really need to know the name. Why would you need to know the name? Because they're going to say some random name, and it's not even going to really mean anything to you. And there's a second part to this question. It says, but how can we invoke it if we do not know its name? So saying, how can we call it? Like you call your mom, and you say, oh, Mom, how can you call your guardian angel if it doesn't have a name? And the spirits answered, give it any name you please, that of a high order spirit from whom you've sympathy or veneration. Your protector will always answer to that name, For all good spirits are kin and mutually assist each other. So they're saying here, so you can give your guardian angel, your protector spirit, any name you want to. If it's that, you can pick any higher order spirit if you want, and use that name. And since all these higher order spirits are connected, no matter what name you use, it will get back to your guardian angel. They will be listening. They'll understand that you give them a name. Question 505. Are protector spirits who employ well-known names always those of the actual individual who has those names? So they're saying, so say you do get a name from a guardian angel, and your guardian angel tells you their name, and it's a well-known name. Is it always actually that well-known person? So if they said, oh, I'm Leonardo da Vinci, is it actually going to be him? Or could they just be making that up? And the spirits answered, no, but they are spirits who are sympathetic to them, and who often come at their orders. You require a name, therefore they employ one that will inspire your trust. When you cannot personally carry out a mission, you send someone whom you trust and who acts in your name. So they're saying here that, so no, the spirit's not always telling the truth when they tell you a name, but to them, names aren't a big deal. It's not like they're really lying to you, but they just know that, okay, maybe to gain your trust, they need to give you a name that's someone that you will trust. And sometimes it's actually sent by that person. So that person sends someone, and then that person's using their name too. So let's just make up a name. So John. So John sent Sam, but so Sam is going to say that he's John too, even though he's not, just to gain the person's trust. Question 506. When we return to the spirit life, will we recognize our protector spirit? So when we go back to the spirit world, are we going to remember our protector spirit? Are we going to recognize them and be like, oh, you're my protector spirit? And the spirit said, yes, because you frequently knew it before your incarnation. So you are going to recognize it because chances are you met and you knew your protector spirit before you incarnated. So when you go back, it'll just be like a reunion instead of meeting for the first time. Question 507. Do protector spirits all belong to the order of highly evolved spirits? Can they sometimes be found among average orders? Can a father, for example, become the protector spirit of his child? So, do the protector spirits have to be of high orders, or can they be kind of average people? So, like, can a father just become the protector of his child? And the spirits answered, he can, but protection presupposed a certain degree of elevation, and additionally, a power of virtue granted by God. A father who protects his child may himself be assisted by a more evolved spirit. So here they're saying that yes, a father can be the protector of his child, but to be at this protector level, you need to have a certain degree of evolution, a certain status. So as long as they're there, they can, and if God permits it to, he will be, and sometimes he can be the protector while with the help of a more evolved spirit. Question 508. Can spirits who have left the earth understand good circumstances always protect those whom they love and who have survived? So those who have left the earth, so they disincarnated from the earth, and they, under good circumstances, they did everything right, and it was just their time to go back to the spirit world. So can they always protect those whom they kind of left behind on the earth? So those who aren't, so those like loved ones, their family members who are still incarnated on earth while they disincarnated? And the spirit said, their power is more or less restricted. The position in which they find themselves does not always allow them to full freedom of action. So depending on, again, how evolved they are and what position they find themselves in, they might be able to do a lot, or they might not able to do a lot to help family members and to guide them and these loved ones that they left behind. Question 509. Do humans in the primitive state, or in the state of moral impurity, also have protector spirits? If so, are these spirits of an order as elevated as those of more advanced humans? So what they're saying here, so the primitive, the very low levels of spirits, do they also have guardian angels? Do they also have protector spirits? And if they do, does everyone have the same level? So maybe me and someone that's more evolved than me and someone that's less evolved than me, do we all have the same level of protector spirit? And the spirits answered, all individuals have a spirit who watches over them, but such a mission is related to its purpose. You do not give a professor of philosophy to a child who is just learning to read. The progress of the familiar spirit follows that of the spirit it protects. Having a highly evolved spirit who watches over you, you in turn may become the protector of a spirit who is less evolved than you, and the progress that you help that spirit will make contribution to your own advancement. God does not require of a spirit more than of its nature and the degree at which it has arrived will allow. So yes, everyone has a protector spirit, no matter what level you're at. So even if it's the very primitive state, this very low state, they do have a protector spirit. But the levels don't always have to be the same. Because, like they're saying here, they give a good example. You're not going to give a professor of philosophy, a college professor, you're not going to give them to a child that's 4 years old just learning to read. So you can have a less evolved spirit who might not be a professor of philosophy, but is very good at reading. So you can have them help the child instead of the professor. So there can be different levels of who's a protector spirit in what case. And they said that some, let's say a more evolved spirit, so let's say you're more evolved. You can have a protector spirit, but you can also be a protector spirit for someone else to help you learn something of helping that person. But of course, God does not give you anything that you won't be able to handle. So if God allows someone to be a protector spirit, then God is sure that that person can handle it, that person has all in its capability to handle the situations that the spirit will go through. Question 510. When a father who has been watching over his child reincarnates, does he still continue to do so? So now let's say, so this father disincarnated and they became the protector spirit of the child. But now, when the father reincarnates, now what happens? The spirits answered, that is a more difficult situation, but in a moment of freedom, he may ask that a sympathetic spirit assist him in the mission. However, spirits only accept missions that they can carry out to the end. So they're saying, if the father really has to reincarnate, then he's gonna try and find someone that can take over for him and help him in that mission. But usually spirits only accept missions that they're going to be able to carry out until the end. So if this father takes on the responsibility to be the child's protector, then he's going to do that until the end of maybe that incarnated life or others. And then it continues. Incarnate spirits, especially on worlds where existence is quite material, are too dominant by their physical bodies to be able to devote themselves entirely to others, that is, to assist them personally. That is why those who are not sufficiently evolved are themselves assisted by spirits who are more evolved. So if that one fails, for whatever reason, it will be replaced by another. So, for the incarnate spirits, for us, on corporeal world, sometimes our material, our bodies are so heavily dense that the spirits can't really work as freely as they do. So that's why the spirits who, like we said, who they might not be the professor of philosophy, but they're great readers, so they might need some extra help. So that means, the protector spirit has some help too, as well. It's not just them by themselves. So that's what we'll leave off today, and there's still a bunch to go in the section about guardian angels, so we'll continue that next week and hopefully finish that part up. But before we leave off today, I'd like to read our message from the Daily Book of Positive Quotations for today's date, November 14th. This one's titled, Inaction. Throughout history, it has been the inaction of those who have acted, the indifference of those who should know better, the silence of voice of justice when it matters most, that has made it possible for evil to triumph. A very few people can do great harm if the rest of us just sit back and let them. When we're not the ones being directly harmed, it's especially easy to rationalize inaction. Okay, we don't like what's happening, but what can we do? It doesn't affect us anyway, right? Just as it only takes a small number doing harm to bring evil into the world, it only takes a small number actively resisting to stop them. It is not enough for me to be good to others. I need to stand up to those who harm others. If at all you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, anything you want to talk about, if it's Spiritist related, if it's school related, if it's home related, if it's anything you want to talk about at all, feel free to email me at kardecradioforteens@gmail.com and I'll get back to you right away. I'm Bia, and this is Kardec Radio for Teens. Thank you all for listening.
This has been Kardec Radio for Teens. Thank you all for listening.